Good morning, Robert Scribbler filming here at 9:15 a.m. at Nag's Head on this Friday for Future Friday, June 23rd, as 1 to 2 foot, maybe some 3 foot waves roll in off the North Atlantic Ocean. Once again, a larger swell than expected, but not as large as yesterday. We've got beautiful golden rays of sunlight streaming down in the morning, and looks like about 3 to 4 surfers here out enjoying the break. Winds right now from the south about 10 to 15 miles per hour, and just a beautiful day to get to the beach as temperatures right now are rising into the upper 70s, expected to get into the 80s by afternoon. There are a few things I'd like to talk about on this Friday for Future, and I've kind of been putting them off a little bit because I wanted to get some more context. But right now, we are experiencing some very abnormal conditions for the North Atlantic Ocean. Most of the North Atlantic right now is much warmer than normal, and the entire North Atlantic is about a degree above where it has ever been. So what that means is that the Atlantic Ocean overall is record hot, and record hot by a wide margin. This has the scientists and the climate community abuzz with chatter about potential implications. As a former focused climate journalist and someone who still focuses on climate in relationship to impacts to oceans and surfing and the Outer Banks, I'd just like to say that the imagery and charts with regards to the present ocean anomalies, the unprecedented heat is quite stunning. And so if you look, for example, at the Atlantic Ocean, particularly on the Europe and Africa side, it looks much more widespread as far as heat anomalies go than El Nino. And El Nino is a warming of the Pacific Ocean that moves entire weather systems and changes the world's weather as a part of a periodic warming and cooling of the equatorial Pacific waters. Now, the distribution of the really extraordinarily warm waters in the North Atlantic are focused toward Europe and Africa, and so they're not oriented toward the equator. So the equatorial type influence would likely be muted, but nonetheless, this much warmer than normal ocean condition driven by fossil fuel burning is already having an effect on weather. And just overall, warmer oceans do tend to result in the potential for heat waves on the continents, and right now we're seeing an extraordinary heat wave in Texas. I haven't yet done any research into heat waves in Europe, but I wouldn't be surprised if Europe is seeing more heat and more prevalence toward heat wave type conditions. And right now, the heat wave in Texas is extraordinarily deadly. It's impacting power grids and productivity and all sorts of things down there in Texas. And unfortunately, we've had heat lethality events down in Texas as well. This is all related to the climate crisis, which is driven by fossil fuel burning. But also out here in the North Atlantic, and more relevant to surfing, surfers, and those who live on the coastlines, we've got two tropical cyclones, Brett and Cindy. Now, it's not entirely unusual to have two tropical cyclones in the Atlantic at this time of year. It's just what is unusual is where they formed, and they formed off of Africa. So it's not typically until August that we see storms forming off of Africa. Hurricane climatologists call it the Cape Verde season because storms tend to start to form near the Cape Verde Islands or the Cape Verde Islands off of Africa as very large complexes of thunderstorms move off of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, suck up the heat from late summer in the equatorial waters, and then pump up to tropical cyclone strength. Well, that's happening now in June, and that's not normal. That is climate change. You see hurricane climatology that would typically happen in August happening now in June, and that's another unprecedented impact related to the extreme and unprecedented ocean heat that we are seeing, all of it driven by fossil fuel burning. Here on the Outer Banks, we are under the gun for impacts from tropical cyclones, particularly as they move across the North Atlantic and gather strength. The Outer Banks sticks out into the ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean has seen more numerous powerful tropical cyclones during recent years. This is in majority due to the warming of the ocean, and this year we are seeing an unprecedented warming of the ocean. Now, what does that mean for hurricane season? We've already seen some impacts. We've seen these storms forming off of Africa early, and it does seem that the heat in the ocean might override the influence of El Nino, at least to some degree. So the influence of El Nino changes the upper level winds such that it tends to chop down hurricanes, creating wind shear. But with all that added heat in the ocean, what can happen is these cyclones will form and just overpower the wind shear if there's enough energy at the ocean surface. And at least so far, that appears to be what's happening with the tropical cyclones this year. Now, we're going to have to see how things progress, but it does look like we might have an above average hurricane season, and this unprecedented heat in the ocean definitely loads the dice for more tropical cyclones and more hurricanes. All of these impacts are driven by fossil fuel burning, which is one of the reasons why here at the OBX Wave Report, we keep asking everybody to do what they can to help support the clean energy transition. And right now I've got a campaign ongoing over at Instagram trying to raise some money for 350.org. And I invite you guys to check out my Instagram. I'll leave a link to it. And donate to 350.org. I'm going to be donating to 350.org. It's a climate action movement. And I also, on this Friday for Future, ask you guys to do everything you can to support the youth climate activists in the Fridays for Future movement. Okay, so as we stare down the gun of a much warmer than normal Atlantic Ocean this hurricane season, I'm going to go back to the waves, and we're going to get down to the wave report. Okay, so right now here at Nag's Head, waves in the range of 1 to 2 feet, possible some 3-footers rolling in off the North Atlantic Ocean. We've got the no swimming signs up. This is due to strong riptides. We're going to go out and surf. We use the riptides in surfing. I'm going to point the camera to the riptide now on the south side of the sandbar. You can see the water sucking across the sandbar through a gap right there. It's like a little river in the ocean. So we do have a lot of riptides today. We've got some rough surf, but the surf has calmed down a lot from yesterday. I don't know if the no swimming signs will stay up. Nonetheless, waves in the 1 to 2 foot range, some 3-footers rolling in here at Nag's Head. Primary swell coming in out of the south-southeast at 2.7 feet. That is a 5-second swell. Right now, air temperature is in the range of about 79 degrees. Ocean water temperature is 71 here. Not so warm here at Nag's Head, but much further south we've got very warm conditions, warmer than normal conditions. We'll talk about that in a minute. Weather today, cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms, highs in the 80s, in the lower 80s. South winds building to 15 to 20 miles per hour by late in the morning and through afternoon. Chance of rain today, 50%. And you can already see like the clouds of a thunderstorm here to our south and west. We're likely to get a shower or a thunderstorm in a few hours here in Nag's Head. You can see the outflow from that thunderstorm just overhead. Heading down south to Rodanthe, we've got 2-foot choppy waves coming in. I bet there's some larger swells with these swells coming in off the North Atlantic. Trade wind's pretty strong, pushing in across the North Atlantic. Primary swell coming in at the south at Rodanthe is a 3.2-foot swell at 6 seconds. We've got winds out of the south-southwest at 20 miles per hour. Air temperatures 79 degrees. Ocean water temperatures 73 degrees. Weather conditions today, cloudy as a beautiful set rolls in. cloudy, scattered showers and thunderstorms, breezy with highs in the lower 80s. South winds 15 to 20 miles per hour, chance of rain 50%. And then last of all, at Buxton, we've got 1 foot plus waves. Primary swell coming in at the south at 4.3 feet. That is a 6-second swell. Winds out of the southwest at 21 miles per hour, pretty stiff there. Air temperatures around 77 degrees. Ocean water temperatures all the way up to 78. That's much warmer than normal for this time of year down there at Buxton. Buxton getting a bit of that warmer than normal ocean influence. And wow, just if you want to get down to near tropical water conditions, all you have to do is head down south to Buxton, Frisco, and Ocracoke at the moment, because boy, are those water temperatures considerably warmer than normal. So thank you for joining me for this extended edition of the OBX Wave Report on this Friday for Future. And I do ask you guys to please tune in to your climate scientists, your news sources that are talking about climate change, not those that are denying climate change, and to also do everything you can to help support your youth climate activists, as well as the rapid transition to clean energy, which will help protect our coastlines and so much else from the impacts of climate change, which we are feeling now. So thank you for joining me once again. This is Robert Scribbler signing off, and I'm going to be heading out into the waters, doing some surfing. Hope to see you guys there.